All right, if you're somebody who is considering getting into emergency preparedness and maybe stockpiling supplies in case of an emergency, but you live in a small place, like a small apartment or a small home, and you think that you don't have the room to stockpile what you need, in today's video, I'm actually going to do a demonstration and I'm going to show you how I would personally stockpile emergency supplies for 2 adults for 60 days. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a linen closet in my house, in my bathroom. I'm going to empty it out and I am going to fill it with 60 days of supplies. I'm going to go over each item with you so you know exactly what I'm doing. So I'm going to operate in this exercise under a scenario that's similar to the COVID-19 pandemic. So I'm going to assume that I am bugging in my house and I am on lockdown and I can't leave. But I'm also going to assume that the grid is down. There's a total power failure for whatever reason, and I need to survive with myself and one other adult for at least 60 days. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I would go about stockpiling supplies in a very small closet to get me through a full 60 days. We're going to talk a lot about food. We're also going to talk about water and water safety, a little bit of health and wellness, which is actually more important than you might think. And then we're also going to talk about protection, which is a really critical component to this. I just realized I forgot to tell you something. I wanted you to know before I start going through all the food that I chose in this video that everything I chose can either be eaten as is or only requires hot water to prepare the food. Now this is important because you need to have a way to heat water in order for this to work. So working under the assumption that you're in a lockdown and there's no power, I'm going to assume that either you have a gas stove in your house that you can use to heat water, or if you don't have that as an option, you need to have a way that you can heat water. And I wanted to show you, I pulled aside 4 things that I keep in my house that I wanted to show you that you could use to basically boil water. So the first thing I have is a jet boil system. This is actually an original. I think it's from about 2004, still works like a champ. Uses canister fuel. These are great, can't be used indoors necessarily, but you could use them outside on your patio, that type thing. Boils water super quick. So next option up is going to be the MSR Pocket Rocket. This is actually my backpacking stove. It also uses canister fuel. It can only hold a smaller pot when it's filled with water, but this is a great little option for heating up some water pretty quickly. Next up is a typical Coleman camp stove. So this is a 2-burner stove that I keep, which will obviously do a great job of, for one, cooking food if you need to, or heating up food, but also for boiling big pots of water. Runs on these 1-pound propane canisters. And lastly, the fourth solution I have is a single burner butane stove. So this one uses butane canisters for fuel. And again, burns super fast and super hot. So this would be one way that you could use to prep your water and get it ready for the food. All right, so that's 4 solutions for you. Obviously, you need to take this into consideration as we go through this exercise and be thinking about ways that you'll be able to heat water for cooking, but also boil water in case you need to disinfect it for drinking. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Here's my closet. It's got 4 shelves. Obviously, there's storage on the floor as well. What I'm shooting for in this video is about 1,500 calories per day per person. So that would be a total of 180,000 calories over 60 days. I will give you all those totals in the breakdown at the end of the video. Top shelf is going to be some basic necessities like toilet paper, Kleenex, paper towels, etc. I did not fully fill up this shelf, but I put enough supplies there to manage the full 60 days. Now we're going to move on to food. Beans are going to be our first staple here. I like to diversify a little bit with different types of beans, especially ones that have some type of seasoning in them, make it more palatable. I also like refried beans. These can be eaten right out of the can or heated up, added to rice and that sort of thing. We're going to do roughly 20 cans for about 7,700 calories. All right, we're going to start with a huge 25-pound bag of jasmine rice. This is over 200 servings of rice and comes in at over 40,000 total calories. All right, next up, we're going to add 20 cans of chili. Soup and canned chili obviously is another great staple that you can include in this exercise. Can be eaten straight out of the can, or obviously can just be heated up pretty easily over a camp stove. I like the ones that are that you see here that are super hearty, that include beans or plant-based meats, lots of vegetables. Also, diversification here is important. Don't stock the exact same, can of chicken noodle soup or whatever it is you like, because you're going to get bored of it. So diversify a little bit here. I'm going to add 20 cans. Like I mentioned, there was obviously room for more. At 340 calories per serving, we're talking about a whopping 6,800 calories in total here. All right, oatmeal is up next. I really like this stuff because it just takes a little bit of hot water to get it going. I like the individual packets because you could buy oatmeal in bulk, but if for some reason that bulk container were to get compromised, you might lose all of it. So I like the individual containers better. The great thing about oatmeal too is it's super filling, great source of fiber, and great source of protein as well. All right, next up, I like pancake mix. Again, a lot like oatmeal. This stuff is super easy to prepare. Just takes a little bit of hot water and a hot skillet, and you're good to go. Great source of protein, great source of fiber, super hearty. I would diversify again here with a little bit of variety. It's easy to do. What we're going to do is stockpile 5 boxes of this. You could also consider other things like granola in this category. Any type of a grain that's hearty and healthy and easy to prepare, and you're good to go. All right, next up, I think this is going to be pretty self-explanatory. I like to stockpile granola bars. They're pretty tasty. Obviously, they're very hearty. The protein ones are full of protein. I think any combination of granola bars, crackers, I like peanut butter crackers. The saltines are great. They take up a little bit more room, but you can use them in conjunction with your soup and chili, rice and beans, other things that you're making. All right, next up is a big one. We're going to add pasta to this stockpile. I'm going to add about 80 servings. Obviously, like with a lot of things I talk about, you're going to want to diversify a little bit with the types of pasta that you store, as well as the types of pasta sauces that you store as well. Obviously, it's another form of pasta, but I really do like mac and cheese in the family size. Obviously, it adds quite a bit of diversity with the flavoring as well. All right, so listen, I hear you guys on this one. I can hear you from here. You're gonna say, like, why would you stockpile macaroni and cheese? Like, this shit is awful for you. Well, I'm gonna tell you why I prefer, in an emergency type of a situation, why I stockpile this stuff. So one of the things I like about this particular box is that you gotta be real careful opening this thing. But what I like about this is, and it's gonna sound crazy, they give you this massive packet of cheese. There is no way in hell you need this much cheese for this little bit of pasta. Why is this important? Well, for me personally, when I'm thinking about all these things that we're stockpiling, right? We have to be very cognizant in this particular scenario of the fact that you might have to spend 60 days eating a bunch of rice and shit every day. So it's going to be really important, as I mentioned in the video, to also include seasonings and sauces and all this kind of stuff. Well, to me, this fake cheese shit is going to get you through some of those challenging times when your rice is just not palatable anymore. Or you'll hear me in the video mention some of the plant-based meat that I used, that's very shelf-friendly or shelf-stable. Can you imagine eating like a little taco salad with having some of this cheese that you can put on it? Like this stuff's amazing. So I guess I'm trying to make the point to you that you'll hear me recommend this macaroni and cheese, but it's not so much about the macaroni and it's a lot more about the cheese. I think a great supplement to the stockpile here is going to be protein powder. I am going to go ahead and add 44 servings. Next up, we're going to do 68 servings of peanut butter. Peanut butter is pretty diverse. Obviously, you can just eat it straight out of the jar, but you can also use it in conjunction with the other things in the stockpile, such as your crackers. For the same reasons I add peanut butter, I think it's a couple jars of jam will go a long ways to, making your food palatable. And obviously, if you needed to eat it straight out of the jar, you could do that as well. Obviously, in this scenario where the grid is down, it's not likely you're going to have a working refrigerator. So, one of the things that I really enjoy are these plant based meat crumbles that you can buy. They're shelf stable, you don't have to refrigerate them. They actually taste really good. They are ultra processed, so I try to avoid them a little bit. And I don't eat them that often. But in this type of a situation where you need something that is like a meat substitute to mix in with the other things that you're consuming, I think these are a great solution. I think nuts or any kind of trail mix is a great addition to this stockpile. Obviously, nutritionally it's very good for you. Lots of great fats and that kind of thing. They can be eaten as a snack or as part of a meal. So I'm going to include here a bunch of almonds and a small can of peanuts. This one's a bit niche, but I really like these organic quinoa and brown rice packets. You only need hot water to cook them. They really go a long ways and are a little bit more of a healthy addition to the stockpile. Coffee's pretty self-explanatory, but I mean we had to include it on the list, so here we go, three packs of coffee. Next up, I'm going to add some hard candy. I think this goes a long ways. Obviously, it's really shelf stable. It requires no preparation. But as a sort of a dessert item or a feel good item, I would add a couple bags of this. Biscoffs are a bit niche, but I like them. You can dip them in peanut butter. You can eat them with your coffee in the morning. They're a bit like a cracker, a bit like a cookie. This is a personal choice on my part, but I'm going to add some of these to my stockpile. I love these electrolyte tablets. I've been using them for years. And obviously, if you're stuck drinking water all day long, these can sweeten up your water a little bit and give you something different to drink. I totally love these Arcopia freeze dried smoothie packets. Each of these packets is a full pound of fresh fruit. All you need, obviously, is water to prep them. I buy these from Arcopia. They're a Canadian company. I'm going to go ahead and add a whole bunch of these to the stockpile. I'm also going to add some of this tricolor quinoa. Again, you only need water to prep it. It's super healthy for you and is going to add a little bit of diversity to the meals that you're trying to prep. Jerky is a great addition for the protein and just as a great snack. So for me personally, I'm vegetarian, so I use plant-based jerky. Next up is going to be freeze-dried food. Freeze-dried is great because of the versatility of it. It's got a super long shelf life, but the biggest drawback it has is that it's really packed with a lot of sodium. These are great meals to have on hand, so I'm going to add them to the stockpile, and they only require hot water to prep them, so they're great. No matter what we're cooking in this particular scenario, a lot of this is going to be quite bland. So I recommend adding soy sauce and all kinds of seasonings and salt and pepper and whatever you need to add to this stockpile to make your food way more palatable. This is the recommendation I have here. Obviously, we need to make some room for medications. This is everything from maybe prescription meds that you take on a normal basis to first aid types of items, pain relievers, tampons, band-aids. Whatever you think you need. I would put a whole set together of all the medications you might need. Having an organized first aid kit would be super helpful as well. So this I would recommend. So one thing that's important here is in this particular scenario, fresh fruit and produce is going to be pretty much unavailable or unattainable. Having multivitamins on hand in this stockpile is going to be critical. Obviously, cleanliness is going to be really important. We want to make sure we keep our environment in our house clean. Hand sanitizer is going to be crucial. These things don't take up a lot of space, so I'm going to add them to the stockpile. Treating water is going to be really important. This could be a whole video all on its own. All right, so you're going to hear me say in this video, we're going to talk about water safety, right? So a couple of things that I'm going to recommend. The first of which is potable aqua. Potable aqua are iodine tablets. I recently did a little quick short gear review on these. I carry these in all of my backpacks and all my bug out bags. They're in my camper, they're in my car, they're in my nightstand. Like I literally have a pile of these things. Like I can't even hold them all in my hand. The ones I managed to gather up today, like I've just got piles of these things. Iodine tablets will treat dirty water and make it potable, safe for you to drink. I think there's a couple reasons why I recommend potable aqua for this particular exercise. One is they're super cheap. And they're small, right? We're talking about microprepping here, like stockpiling supplies in a small space. This is a great way to ensure that if you have to go out and collect dirty water, because let's be honest, I'm putting 10 gallons of fresh water in my closet for this particular scenario, but 10 gallons of fresh water is not going to get 2 adults through 60 days. So this is like one of the big caveats to this video. You can't really stockpile enough water to get you through. So what you're going to have to do is go out and find water, or if your tap is still running, but there's a boil order in place, you might want to treat your water before you drink it. So to me, potable aqua is a really great way to have a small solution that will get you safe drinking water. One of the other things I like that you'll hear me mention in the video is life straws. These things are incredible. Again, I carry these in a lot of different places, mostly in my backpacking, backpacks for when I'm out for multi-day trips. They're super light. They've gotten a little bit more expensive. I think they're like $17 a piece now or something like that, but they didn't used to be that expensive, but they work great. It's a straw. You can basically drink out of a creek or a pond or a puddle of water or whatever it is. It will filter out the contaminants for you and make that water mostly safe to drink. The other thing that I like to do, and I think you could consider this as well, although there's more of a consideration here, is a SteriPen. So I also use a SteriPen depending on the situation. SteriPens use 4 AA batteries, and they use UV light to disinfect water. So this is, if you have like a Nalgene bottle, for example, you can use the pre-filter that will screw on top of the Nalgene bottle. You can fill the Nalgene bottle with water and most of the heavy particulates will get filtered out. And then you can use the UV light from the SteriPen to basically kill all the bacteria in the water. So these are small, mostly affordable solutions that you could consider to store in this particular scenario. I think in the video, I mentioned life straws and I mentioned potable aqua. And I highly encourage you, because water safety is so important in an emergency, I highly encourage you to sort of investigate these products, try them out on your own, because I think that this is like one of the keys to surviving a serious like grid down, lock-in type of emergency. We're going to start with 2 full 5-gallon jugs of fresh water. I'm also going to add 2 of these 5-gallon collapsible jugs that can be filled up later as well. Any other things that you can think of that you might need to add to this? I'm going to add things like lotion, deodorant, a 90-day supply of contact lenses, and some other stuff. Another thing I would highly recommend, since we have the room, is to add some small games or books to read or things to keep you busy. If the grid is down and you can't watch TV and your phone's probably not working anymore, you're going to need some things to keep you entertained. In addition to that, I would probably, since we have the room, add a couple bottles of booze. Like, this is something I would want to have. Having some basic supplies on hand is going to be really important. Think about what you might need. Keep extra batteries handy. Candles, headlamps, anything like that that would be useful in a grid down type situation. There's a lot of things that could be super handy here. I'm going to choose binoculars, a small repair kit in case I need a needle and thread for something. Obviously, it's hopefully not needed, but we do have to cover protection. For me personally, my first line of protection is firearms, but make sure that you have some things on hand in case you need to prepare yourself in the event of a conflict. Bear spray is a great idea, although using it indoors is really dangerous. But having an assortment of machetes or knives or whatever you can think of, like this is a really important thing to think about. All right, so in the video, you're going to hear me talk a little bit about personal safety. For myself personally, in the video, actually, I talk about knives and bear spray and things like that you can sort of fit into this stockpile that will provide you some personal safety. For myself, I just wanted to clarify that I'm a firearms guy. Not all people are really into firearms. For me, I feel like this is the best way to provide personal safety for myself and my family. I didn't go into detail about that in the video. This is not a gun channel. There's a lot of experts out there on YouTube who will teach you everything you ever wanted to know about handguns and personal safety and all that stuff. So I just wanted to clarify, though, that for myself, my first line of defense is going to be firearms. Second line of defense is going to be all the residual stuff. So I didn't mention in the video, but I'm big on baseball bats. So I keep these things all over the place. They're in my truck, they're in my house, or under my bed, like knives, bear spray, all that stuff. Like it's great for giving you some level of comfort in an emergency situation. And if need be, you can protect yourself and your family. All right, I appreciate you guys watching the video today. I hope that I've shown you that if you are a person who lives in a really small space, a small apartment, small house, whatever it is, and you're getting into emergency preparedness, there is definitely a way for you to stockpile the supplies that you need. I mean, obviously, this is a very broad topic. I tried to show you the ways in which I would personally prepare for this type of emergency or grid down scenario, whatever it might be. Obviously, your mileage may vary. If you have thoughts or comments about the video, I would love to hear them. Comment below, send me an email, whatever it is. Obviously, the video that I provided is very specific to me. If you have other thoughts, I'd love to hear them. Until I get a video out to you guys next time, I appreciate you watching, and everybody be safe and take care out there.